Welcome to session 14. Today we are talking about the legal and financial consequences of DUI, but I want to set the tone clearly. This is not a shame session. My goal is not to make you feel worse. My goal is to help you look at the full picture, understand the cost of DUI behavior, and build a plan that protects your freedom, your money, your relationships, and other people on the road. This session is educational. It is not legal advice. DUI laws, court requirements, MVD requirements, probation expectations, ignition interlock rules, fines, and license consequences can change and can vary from person to person. Your specific situation needs to be confirmed with the court, MVD, probation, your attorney, or your approved provider. What we are doing here is not replacing those people. We are using the topic to strengthen prevention. I want you to think about consequences in a different way. Consequences are not only punishments, consequences are information. They tell us what a choice can cost. If we can understand the costs while we are calm and sober, we have a better chance of making a safer decision later when pressure, stress, embarrassment, or temptation shows up. The most important consequence of impaired driving is not the money. It is not the court dates. It is not the license restriction. The most serious consequence is that someone can be injured or killed. The driver can be hurt, a passenger can be hurt, another driver, a child, a parent, a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or a road worker can be hurt. That is why this topic matters. DUI prevention is life protection. Sometimes a person says, nothing happened. What they usually mean is that the worst outcome did not happen, but risk did happen. Driving impaired creates danger even when there is no crash. Accountability means being able to say, I created risk and I am responsible for changing the pattern. That statement is not meant to crush you, it is meant to give you power. If the pattern can be seen, the pattern can be changed. As we go through this session, I want you to notice which consequences affect you the most. Is it the risk to life, the court process, money, family trust, work, your license, stress? There is no perfect answer. The point is to connect the information to what you personally want to protect. Consequence education works best when it connects to values. If you value freedom, then DUI consequence threatens freedom. If you value family, DUI consequences can damage trust and availability. If you value work, DUI consequences can interfere with transportation, schedule, license status, and reputation. If you value money, DUI consequences can create a long financial burden. If you value being a responsible person, DUI prevention becomes part of your identity. Another way to think about consequences is to ask, what did this choice put at risk? It may have put safety at risk. It may have put your license at risk. It may have put your family peace at risk. It may have put your work schedule at risk. It may have put your finances at risk. When you can name what was at risk, you can begin protecting it intentionally. I also want you to notice the difference between guilt and shame. Guilt says, I did something risky. Shame says, I am hopeless. Guilt can support repair because it points to behavior that needs to change. Shame often makes people hide. In this program, we use guilt in a healthy way by turning it into action, responsibility, and prevention. Before we move into specific legal and financial areas, I want you to complete the first worksheet section. Keep it honest and simple. You do not need to write a perfect answer. The purpose is to identify what you want to protect from this point forward. Pause the video and complete worksheet part 1, consequence reflection. Let us talk about the legal and driving consequences in a practical way. In Arizona and in many states, DUI consequences can involve both the court system and the motor vehicle system. The court may deal with charges, sentencing, fines, probation, jail requirements, education, treatment, community, restitution, and other conditions. MVD may deal with license suspension or revocation, reinstatement steps, proof of financial responsibility, traffic survival school, or ignition interlock requirements. The exact requirements depend on the case. Arizona commonly describes DUI categories such as standard DUI, extreme DUI, super extreme DUI, aggravated DUI, and repeat offenses. The details can depend on alcohol concentration, drug involvement, prior history, refusal, accident, injury, age, license type, jurisdiction. I'm not asking you to memorize law today. I'm asking you to understand the larger point. One impaired driving decision can create a long chain of responsibilities. A chain of consequences often comes in waves. The first wave may be the night of the arrest: fear, embarrassment, towing, booking, calling someone, getting home, and realizing life is not normal. The second wave often lasts much longer: court dates, attorney contact, fines, license issue, insurance changes, treatment appointments, interlock, transportation stress, missed work, family questions, and paperwork. A person may feel like the same mistake keeps showing up again. That is why organization matters. When people feel overwhelmed, they sometimes avoid. They do not open mail, they miss a call, they put off paperwork, they ignore deadlines, they tell themselves, I will handle it later. Avoidance may bring short term relief, but it usually creates more stress. Responsible follow throughs reduce chaos. Showing up, tracking deadlines, completing classes, following MVD requirements, and keeping documents organized are not just legal tasks, they are recovery behaviors. I want you to think about your own responsibilities. What do you need to track? Court, fines, probation, screening, education, treatment, interlock, license reinstatement, insurance, work schedule, transportation. The more specific the list, the less power it has to float around as anxiety. A simple organization system can make a major difference. You can use a folder, phone calendar, reminders, a note app, a paper checklist, or help from a trusted friend. The tool matters less than the follow through. The goal is to move from I am overwhelmed to I know the next step. The next step may not solve everything today, but it lowers risk because chaos is a trigger. It is also important to follow driving restrictions. If a license is suspended, restricted, or tied to interlock rules, trying to work around the rule can create additional problems. Even if the rules feel frustrating, the safer mindset is I protect my future by following the requirement. The mindset protects freedom better than resentment. Legal stress can become a trigger if it is not handled directly. A court notice, an interlock reminder, a bill, a probation appointment, or a license issue can bring up anxiety, anger, or shame. Those feelings are understandable, but they are not a safe reason to drink. But they are not safe reasons to drink, use, or avoid responsibilities. A prevention plan includes how to handle legal stress days without making the situation worse. On a legal stress day, the plan can be simple: sleep as well as possible, eat something, bring paperwork, arrive early, ask questions respectfully, call support afterwards, and avoid alcohol or drugs before and after the appointment. The goal is to reduce the chance that stress turns into avoidance or relapse behavior. Now you will complete the legal and compliance map. Do not guess about requirements you are unsure of. Write what you know and write what you need to confirm. The goal is to make the responsibilities visible so they can be managed. Pause the video and complete worksheet part 2, Legal and Compliance Map. Now let us talk about money. DUI can be expensive in obvious and hidden ways. Costs may include fines, court fees, attorney fees, DUI screening, education, treatment, probation fees, ignition interlock, installation, and monthly fees. License reinstatement, insurance changes, towing, impound, transportation, missed work, childcare related to appointments, and lost employment opportunities. The exact amount varies, but a pattern is clear. Impaired driving can keep costing money long after the night is over. Financial stress can become a release trigger. A bill arrives, a fee is due, work hours are missed, a person feels ashamed or angry. Then the thought appears, I cannot handle this, or I deserve a drink, or none of this matters. Those thoughts are dangerous because they can turn financial pressure into substance use risk, and then into DUI risk. This is why financial reality check belongs in the curriculum. That is why financial reality check belongs in the curriculum. I want you to complete short-term convenience with long-term costs. I want you to compare short-term convenience with long-term costs. A rideshare may feel expensive in the moment compared with another DUI. It is small. Calling a family member may feel embarrassing compared with jail, injury, or another charge. It is small. Leaving a car overnight may feel inconvenient compared with losing a license, losing a job, or hurting someone. It is small. Responsible choices often require temporary discomfort. DUI consequences can create long-term discomfort. A useful phrase for this session is, I choose temporary inconvenience over permanent consequences. Temporary inconvenience may be paying for a ride, waiting, calling someone, admitting you should not drive, leaving early, staying overnight, or leaving the car. Permanent consequences may include another DUI, injury, prison, license loss, job loss, serious financial damage, or lifelong guilt. Think about the cost of prevention. What does a safe ride cost? What does it cost to keep your phone charged, plan a ride, ask for help, or avoid bringing the car? Now compare that to the cost of one DUI or another DUI. This is not about fear, it is about clear thinking. Some spending is protective. Paying for a safe ride, hotel, taxi, rideshare, sober driver, phone charger, or backup plan may feel frustrating, but it can protect far more than it costs. Prevention should be viewed as part of your safety budget. You are not wasting money when you protect your freedom, your license, your work, and someone else's life. A financial plan does not need to solve every cost today. It may simply begin by writing down what is owed, what dates matter, and what can be paid now, who needs to be contacted, and what transportation costs should be planned for. A clear list is less overwhelming than a vague fear. When that financial picture is visible, the next step becomes easier to choose. It may also help to treat safe transportation as a required expense instead of an optional expense. If alcohol or drugs may be present, the cost of a ride is part of the plan. If the ride feels too expensive, the safer choice may be not attending, going with a sober person, staying overnight, or leaving the vehicle at home. A prevention budget protects your larger future. Now complete the financial reality check. Be honest about what this has already cost, what it could cost, and why a safe ride is cheaper than repair. The goal is not to obsess about money. The goal is to let financial realities support better choices. Pause the video and complete worksheet part 3, Financial Reality Check. DUI consequences do not stay only in the legal system. They can ripple into work, school, family, parenting, relationships, trust, and daily stress. Some jobs require driving. Some employees care about background checks or license status. Some schedules become harder when transportation is limited. Even if a job is not lost, stress can affect performance, attendance, and reliability. Family and relationship trust can also be affected. People may worry about your safety, honesty, responsibility, or whether the behavior will happen again. You may want them to move on quickly, but trust usually returns through consistency over time. A person does not rebuild trust by demanding it. A person rebuilds trust by becoming reliable. Reliability is shown through repeated actions, following requirements, telling the truth, planning rides, not driving after drinking or using, keeping appointments, answering calls, managing stress, and asking for help before the risky moment. These actions may feel small, but small, consistent actions are how people begin to believe change is real. I want you to separate what is in your control from what is not in your control. You cannot control whether someone trusts you immediately. You can control whether you act trustworthy today. You cannot erase the DUI. You can change what happens next. You cannot control every consequence. You can't control whether you respond with avoidance or responsibility. Shame often says, I messed up, so I am bad. Accountability says, I made a risky choice and now I will practice different behavior. Shame hides. Accountability repairs. Shame repeats the same cycle. Accountability interrupts the cycle. In this session, we are choosing accountability. Repair is usually slower than an apology. An apology may be important, but repair is what happens after the apology. Repair looks like doing what you said you would do, being where you said you would be, following the plan when no one is watching, and choosing safety when it is inconvenient. Over time, those actions speak louder than one emotional conversation. If someone in your life is still upset, that does not automatically mean your effort is failing. They may need time to see consistency. Your job is not to force trust. Your job is to practice trustworthy behavior. This can lower defensiveness and help you focus on what is in your control. You will now complete the ripple effects and repair section. Think about work, family, trust, daily life, and what one reliable action you can repeat. Do not write what sounds impressive, write what you can actually do. Pause the video and complete worksheet part 4, ripple effects and repair. The last part of the session is your freedom and financial protection plan. This is where we turn consequences awareness into prevention. The goal is not simply to avoid getting caught. The goal is to avoid creating danger. If the only reason not to drive impaired is fear of police, the plan may fail when no one is watching. A stronger reason is safety, responsibility, and the kind of person you are trying to become. A strong plan starts with a clear, no impaired driving rule. Not, I will be careful. Not, I will only drive if I feel okay. Not, I will wait a little while. The rule should be direct. I do not drive after drinking, using drugs, or taking medication that may impair me. I do not ride with an impaired driver. I plan transportation before risk begins. The plan should include safe ride options. List more than one, because one option can fail. A friend may not answer, a phone may die, a rideshare may be expensive, a family member may be busy. That is why backup matters. You can also reduce risk before the event by leaving the car at home, giving keys to someone safe, deciding not to attend, going with a sober person, or setting a time to leave. The plan should also include boundaries. A boundary might be, I do not go to the bars during probation. I do not bring my car to events where alcohol will be present. I do not hang out with people who pressure me to drive. I do not mix alcohol or drugs with medication. I leave if the plan changes. I call support before I feel trapped. Think about the moment when risk usually increases. Is it after work, at a party, on payday, during conflict, when you're lonely, when you feel embarrassed to ask for a ride? Your plan should meet you at that point, not after things have already gone too far. Prevention is easier than repair. A safe ride is easier than another court case. One honest phone call is easier than explaining a crash. Leaving earlier is easier than losing freedom. The final message for this session is, I protect my freedom by planning ahead. I protect my money by choosing safety. I protect my relationship by becoming trustworthy. I protect life by never driving impaired. Let us put this into a quick real-life example. Imagine you are invited somewhere after work. You are tired, stressed, and you know alcohol may be there. A risky plan says, I will figure it out later. A safer plan says, I will leave my car at home, charge my phone, save 2 ride options, tell one person my plan, and decide now that I will not drive after drinking. The difference is not intelligence. The difference is planning before judgment is affected. Another example is medication. Some medications can impair driving, especially when mixed with alcohol, cannabis, sleep aids, pain medication, anxiety medication, or other substance use. A safe rule is to ask a doctor or pharmacist whether it is safe to drive. Follow the label and never mix substances in a way that increases impairment. The safe driving rule applies to alcohol, drugs, and medication related impairment. Your final plan should be short enough to remember and strong enough to use. It should always answer, what is my rule? Who can I call? How will I get home? What will I do if the first ride fails? What will I say if someone pressures me? What inconvenience am I willing to accept to avoid permanent consequence? Complete the final worksheet section now. When you finish, you should have a simple legal, financial, and safe driving protection plan that you can actually use. Pause the video and complete worksheet part 5, My Freedom and Financial Protection Plan. Today, we reviewed legal, financial, employment, family trust, and safety consequences of DUI. We connected those consequences to values and prevention. In the next session, we move from consequences into long-term recovery structure. The question becomes, what kind of life will make safe choices more likely after the program